Okay, so I've started answering this question. I was interrupted, so I'll show you what I've written so far. We're asked to calculate the speed without a calculator, non-calculator. So you can read the question here. Calculate in miles per hour the average speed of a train that travels 200 miles in 2 hours 30 minutes. Now, if you remember, speed is just distance divided by time, how far you travel over the amount of time it takes. You can use this triangle. Some people like to use that triangle. Of course, if you want speed, you cover up the speed, and speed is distance over time. The distance is 200 miles. The time is 2 hours 30 minutes. Okay, now to divide that, it's quite awkward. Even if you had a calculator, it'd be awkward. You'd have to think about what you type in your calculator here. Okay. I suppose if you had a calculator, you'd be thinking 200 and hopefully 2 hours 30 minutes you think of as 2.5. Okay. Without a calculator, it's quite awkward to work this out without a calculator. Okay. Now, one way of doing it is what I've got written here. You could actually scale up your time. So if we know there's 200 miles in 2 hours 30 minutes, and if I doubled that time, it actually comes to 5 hours if you think about it. So doubling the time, of course I would need to double the distance as well. So I get 400 miles in 5 hours. So if I go back to my fraction, it's no different to what we've got here. 200 divided by 2.5 can become 400 divided by 5. Okay, effectively all I've done is I've doubled the bottom and I've doubled the top. And 400 divided by 5, well, 40 divided by 5 is 8, so 400 divided by 5 is 80. So speed is 80 miles per hour. In the next one, obviously you've got 2 hours 20 minutes. Okay, and if we were to do distance over time here, you'd have 14 miles, 2 hours 20 minutes. Again, not easy. So we could look at this scaling thing again. If we do 14 miles in 2 hours 20 minutes, let's see if we can scale this to a suitable time. See if we can scale it so it becomes a whole hour. Now think about what you can multiply this by to get a whole hour. If I multiply it by 2, I get 4 hours and 40 minutes. If I multiply it by 3, of course, this will become 6 hours. If I multiply that by 3, that will become 60 minutes, of course. So that becomes 6 hours, this becomes 60 minutes. And we know, of course, 60 minutes is actually an hour. So when you times this by 3, you get 6 hours there, and that becomes an hour. So in total, you get 7 hours. Of course, if I'm timesing the time by 3, I need to treble the distance as well. So I get 42 miles in 7 hours. So this becomes, going back to my formula, distance 42 over 7, and of course 42 divided by 7, 6 miles per hour. Last one on here, again, speed equals distance 180 divided by the time, 2 hours 15 minutes. Again, you know, you've got 2 hours 15 minutes. That's really awkward to do. So try and think about scaling up again. So try and think about scaling up. 180 miles, or kilometers in this case, isn't it? We'll leave it as that for now. In 2 hours 15 minutes. Okay. Now, you've got to think, to make this whole, what could we times this by? If we times it by 2, you get 4 hours 30 minutes. So if we times it by 4, we'll actually get 9 hours. You'd have to times this by 4 as well. Okay, not easy to do, but I suppose if you double it, you get 360, and double it again, you get 720. So it was kilometers, wasn't it? So 720 in 9 hours. So using our speed, distance, time, 720 divided by 9. Well, 72 divided by 9, 72 divided by 9 is 8. So, and the 0 then makes it 80 kilometers per hour. Okay, and it's important we put our units at the end, and they even give it to you in the question.